With our district attorney, Bob Manzi, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning.
Morning, Todd. How are you today?
Wonderful. Good to have you with us here today. We've had a great stretch of weather, haven't we?
We've had some great weather.
Yeah.
We're out on the baseball fields with the kids. It's starting to look like summer, so I hope we keep going in that direction.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Meanwhile, speaking of starting to look like summer and starting to look back to normal in a way, things are beginning to come back into shape at the Indiana County Courthouse. Going to soon be able to start up jury trials again?
We are going to start jury trials on the last week of April. We have criminal jury trials scheduled for 5 weeks between now and the beginning of July. So we are getting jury trials started back up. We've been doing all of the other steps. We've been doing preliminary hearings and bail motions and pleas and sentencing. But, that aspect with the jury trial, with having so many people come in for the jury and wanting them to be safe, we needed to wait those extra few months. But we're sending our subpoenas out. I know people are getting their jury notice in the mail.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to getting that started.
Still going to be doing that at the KCAC, the jury selection?
We will be doing the jury selection at the KCAC. That allows us to have a lot more room for our jurors to come in, properly space, and then we can. The jurors that are selected will come over to the courthouse, and we'll space them within the courtroom itself to give them some extra room, and we'll be able to move forward safely.
When you do not have a normal schedule of jury trials going forward, the cases tend to back up and then pile up a little bit, and so you probably have a lot to clear.
Yeah, absolutely. The backlog in our county is probably more than it's ever been. When I compare that to other counties around the Commonwealth, I think we're doing very well. Every county in the state is backed up, and when you don't have that fear of a trial starting and having to face the consequence of the charges, it makes it easier for a lot of defendants just to push off facing responsibility for what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other things that we have talked about recently during your visits, one of those included the idea of having a mental health professional within the office or the court system. Tell me about the development of that.
So the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, which was created by Judge Martin back in 2008, provides a lot of guidance for our criminal justice system in the county. We've recently decided unanimously to hire a criminal justice liaison. And essentially what this position is going to be is somebody who works out of the guidance center, and they will work to bridge that gap between the criminal justice system and the mental health system, so that when we have individuals that go into the criminal justice system, but what we're looking at is something that is more defined as a mental health issue that can be more properly resolved there. This person will help divert those individuals from the criminal justice system to the mental health system to get the services they need, so we don't have ongoing issues.
One of the interesting things to me is something you told me, and that is that a very large percentage of cases that are shuffled through the system generally have to do with either substance abuse or mental health issues, and sometimes both.
Absolutely. I think when you look at if you look at all the criminal defendants in the system, you'll find that most of them have either a substance abuse disorder, mental health issues, or a combination of the two. And hoping to address those underlying circumstances, the goal is to reduce recidivism back into the system and reduce criminal behavior in our community.
I think one of the things that might be a public perception that is sort of misinformed as well is that people who have emotional problems, mental health problems, by claiming mental health, they somehow get off from having to face the full brunt of the law and consequences for their actions. That's not the case at all.
No, that's not the case at all. There's a wide range of mental health issues and addiction issues. If we have somebody that's claiming that, we have professionals evaluate them. And, the idea is that we're not going to excuse the behavior, but we're going to address the underlying issues in hopes that you don't recidivate. But it's not a situation where somebody can just walk into court, claim I have some sort of issue, and all of a sudden the case just goes away.
Yeah. There's certainly a consequence to be paid, and the bottom line is getting people the help that they really need.
Most of the cases, the vast majority of criminal defendants in our court system are going to be back and living in our community. There's very few that are going to go to jail and stay in jail the rest of their lives. So what we want to do is address those underlying issues because they're going to be back in our community. They're going to be back walking the same streets we are. So if we're able to help them address those issues properly, the goal is that it's just a safer community for all of us to live in.
Does your office then follow them through their treatment cycle as they are going through whatever it is that is required of them in order to restore them to full mental health and get back out into the community? I'm sure you don't just send them away and say, okay, let the next one take care of them. You have to follow through on that.
We have to follow through, and it really depends upon where the case is being diverted from. If we have a case that's filed in a district court and the victim doesn't wish to testify but certainly wants some sort of mental health evaluation and follow treatment, a case may be continued out for several months, and then the individual will have to show proof that they completed that treatment program. If it's a case where it goes through to sentencing, then our probation department is charged with following through and receiving the proper documentation that those individuals are actually following through with the treatment. We're not just simply going to take their word that something was done. They have to show some sort of proof from a licensed professional that treatment has been completed or is ongoing.
Yeah. Here's something that came up. It's actually in the news today. Westmoreland County, a gentleman with an Indiana County court record, including a conviction and probation from 2018, I believe that it was, arrested for holding a woman against her will earlier this week. And using that case as an example, when somebody in another county who has probation issues here in Indiana County is taken into custody, goes through that court procedure, you have to monitor that, and I'm sure you're in close communication with those folks in the other county, whatever that county might be, in order to be sure that here in Indiana County, that probation exercise is followed through on as well.
Oh, absolutely. Our probation department here in Indiana County is great, and they're in communication with the probation departments in all other counties. They can easily pick up the phone and get information that they need. We do it the same in our office. If I have a case where, I have an individual that comes in and says, I have this concern, I have this underlying issue, and I look them up and find out they have cases in other counties, I just simply pick up the phone and call those other counties, find out if somebody's really following through with what they should be doing, or is it a situation where they're just trying to use it as an excuse to get out from whatever they're accused of doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that interconnectivity from county to county probably is very, very important in your eyes.
Absolutely. I mean, we're not that far from Jefferson and Armstrong and Westmoreland, and we're all on the same team and we all have the same goals.
Yeah.
So the sharing of that information is vitally important. Yeah,
there's a lot of Allegheny County issues that come forward here as well. And in fact, from the eastern end of the state to the southeast corner, there's a lot of that happens here in Indiana County as well.
Absolutely, from all over the state. If we have 100 cases here, we're going to have a couple from the eastern side of the state. We're going to have a couple from the Allegheny County area, Center County. They're coming all around, and I would say I've probably been in contact with most counties in one form or another throughout the state.
We're talking with Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi this morning about a variety of topics. One of the more difficult topics that any court system or any county system must deal with is the issue of child abuse. You're taking steps in that direction as well.
Absolutely. We've had a number of cases that we've been working through long-stage investigation that have come forward on charges over the last few months. Defendants that are accused of having sexually abused minors in a variety of manners. So what my office is doing is we're going to be having a public event on April 27th. It's going to be virtual, so anybody in the county can be there, can see it. We're also going to record it, so if they're not available that date to watch it, they can go back and watch it. And the goal is going to be providing information with regards to the detection, prevention, and eventual prosecution of child abuse. Our goal is that child abuse never happens. If we're able to intervene early on in the stage and give parents and caregivers the tools necessary to identify potential child abuse, then the goal is that no abuse actually happens. Mm-hmm. If it unfortunately does happen, we want to be able to identify it, prosecute it, and provide services to the victim and the victim's family to let them move forward with their life in a positive manner.
Yeah, you got to jump on those cases really quick, don't you?
It depends. Every case is going to be a little different. There's some cases where if we have an allegation of something that happened a long time in the past. It's going to be a little longer to investigate it. We want to make sure we have everything necessary to convict a person at trial.
Yeah.
If it's a very recent case, hours or days, we're going to move on it a little differently. The goal is protecting the victim and getting prosecuting the perpetrator.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Scott Brady stepped away from the federal Western District of Pennsylvania federal prosecutor position. There's an interim in place right now. But we were talking a couple of moments ago about cooperation county to county with the state and the federal authorities, counties, other counties as well. That prosecution leads to a really interesting, to me, web by which you can catch criminals, and so that cooperation is really, really important. I know that has come up recently for you in your office.
That cooperation to me is vitally important. When you look at what a county, what we can do in a county and what we can do with state laws, you also want to look at bringing every tool in the toolbox to a prosecution. And there's federal crimes that are not state crimes. There's state crimes that are not federal crimes. My office is going to work closely with the Attorney General's office and with the Western Pennsylvania AUSA prosecutor, Mr. Kaufman, who's the interim, to make sure that we're able to provide the maximum community protection and the prosecution of crimes when we can. Recently, we had a case with Todd Jakosh, who's accused of possessing a firearm while there's an active PFA and shooting it at the plaintiff in that matter. And what we did is we teamed up with the federal prosecutors because federally it's a crime to possess a firearm while there's an active PFA. Mm-hmm. They're going to be prosecuting that part of the case while we prosecute the assault part of the case. And what this does is it allows us to attack that case by two different ways to provide the maximum protection to that victim and the community. This was a person that while there's PFA had a gun and just started shooting in our borough. Yeah. That's not a good situation. So we want to take out every tool in the toolbox. When I met with the AUSAs who were in my office about 2 weeks ago under Mr. Kaufman, we all had the same idea. The idea is what can we all do to provide the most community protection to get the drugs off the street and to provide that protection. And everyone in there said, we don't really care who gets credit for the prosecution. We just want to make sure the community is protected. Yeah. And it's really a great relationship that our office has with those other offices to be able to provide that for Indiana County.
If there is one type of case that we hear most from folks who are writing into us or commenting on our Facebook page, it's protection from abuse. And there's the feeling that the state's laws aren't as strong as they need to be. What do you think about the state's protection from abuse laws and the tools that you have in order to enforce a PFA?
Well, if you're found in violation of a PFA, the maximum sentence you can get from that is 6 months, which means you could do 3 to 6 months in jail. That's not an awful lot. Now, you could be charged with the underlying crime, and sometimes that doesn't provide a lot. I really like this federal crime. One of the biggest concerns is just having a firearm while there's an active PFA. And what that means is, that defendant has gone through a court hearing, a judge has heard evidence, and it's not the temporary, it's not the initial part of the PFA. They have to go through that due process, have a judge find that there's an active PFA. By providing that additional protection, now we're keeping firearms out of the hands of people with active PFAs. And that's a huge concern for the plaintiffs and the victims in those PFA matters. Our office is always prosecuting the violations of PFAs. Our law enforcement is always, I would say there's no week since I took office that I haven't gotten a call about a PFA violation that we're charging. So I would like to see heightened penalties for additional violations. I think that would help reinforce the idea of what the PFAs are really meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. As usual, we could go on for another hour or so.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah, there really, really is. And who knows if you have something you want to continue to talk about, we could schedule again, but we're out of time in this segment. Appreciate you coming in.
That would be great. I always appreciate coming in and talking with your listeners.
All right. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. 26 minutes after 8 o'clock, we're on the way to the CBS Sports Minute next.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute. The State Department said yesterday that the administration is consulting with allies about a joint approach to China and its human rights record, including how to handle the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. However, a senior official told the Associated Press that a boycott has not yet been discussed. Boycotts are generally bad ideas, as Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred is now learning the hard way who really suffers the consequences. In the case of the relocated MLB All-Star Game, it's Georgians who work in and around the ballpark, plus local small business owners. With the Olympics, athletes who have dedicated years of training are the ones that are being robbed. No one in their right mind can condone Communist China's horrific abuses in Hong Kong and Tibet, along with the systemic torture of 1 million Muslim Uyghurs. Which brings me back to Manfred. How hypocritical that he just concluded a new TV deal with China. I guess the hypocrisy never ends. Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports Radio.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
It pays to fill your prescriptions at CVS. In fact, you can earn up to $50 in extra bucks each year just for filling prescriptions. That's healthier, made easier. Visit CVS today. Terms and conditions apply. Not available in all states. See cvs.com/RX rewards or the pharmacy for details.
If you could change one thing about how the inside of your home feels, what would it be? Fewer drafts, a quieter system, more or less humidity? Believe it or not, you can enjoy all of these things and more with a Lennox Home Comfort System from Davis Brothers Heating and Air Conditioning. And best of all, Davis Brothers has plenty of high-efficiency options. Call Davis Brothers Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-465-6722, 6722, 6722.